The bridge itself has a trail that goes across it and can tie into this park and get a lot of use. Also to note, not too far from it is the Lakewood Dinwiddie Park, and that is actually under development. And in one of the first meetings, we talked about a lot of the amenities there. We didn't want to repeat that here. There's the opportunity. There's a big splash pad, a big playground, and we heard from the park. So what we did, when I explained, we've rotated the site. So north now is to the right, and you got Cherry up to the north, Lamar to the right side. The Alamos, their parking lots south on the plan, and then the bridge is to the left. Right now it's about a 1.6, I think almost 1.7 acre site. Pretty flat, not no trees. There's some drainage areas across it, and there's not a lot there. There's a great opportunity this site provided. So I'm going to have Donna talk about the public comments that we had in the first couple of meetings.
Yeah. I'm afraid I might.
Thank you. I do want to just kind of go back to where we started, because one of the things that I have certainly liked about this process, and I really thank and appreciate your efforts, it's been consistent. And of course, I'm the historic preservation person, so we get to start out with the historic and the cultural aspects. And learning and hearing with your voice, with your words, about the history that you wanted to be part of this park, to somehow come in to the things that we're doing, as well as the bridge and the effort that's been spent and the effort that's been put into preserving the bridge. And so how we can make the park actually highlight both the area in which it is located as well as that bridge itself. And in the architectural features of the bridge, how we can incorporate that into the final design. We're very conceptual now, so you're not going to be able to really pinpoint a lot of those elements, but it is certainly something that we have heard, and it is something that's been consistent. So even as we go into the next meeting, the second meeting, you start to hear those same comments. We obviously will be listening, and we heard we want this to have a connection to the trail and the bike trail, and to accommodate the bicycle riders that will be at the park. So we want to make sure that we're able to do that. And then a pavilion or some sort of shade, a cover for people in the park. And we've heard now that we have the possibility of the pavilion that's actually the bandstand that's at the Alamo. So again, we want to hear how that resonates and what we need to say about that. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the end of the next comments. The green space, so we still wanted this to be a park. We want it to be active, but we wanted to have those park aspects, that green space, the kind of green lung that we talk about, that we can take back into the neighborhood and be able to experience those things. And again, we come back with the highlighting the bridge and its history. And really the technical and design elements of the bridge. So there's the history, but it's also, when we think about what the bridge looks like, the elegant features of the bridge itself. And I think we had one or two people, I don't know, they were kind of quiet, that talked about a skate park.
Yeah, those cats don't.
Yeah, I think I heard that. We try to tease these things out. But we also talked about the idea of being able to view fireworks and also view other things, so that there are different activities during different times of the year can be set up in the park, as well as viewing things outside of the park. So again, it's this, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, how how we actually kind of frame that story. We had actually shown some beginning conceptual designs, again, some comments about the skate park, trying to make that larger. We have a very small park, so balancing the needs of the open space, the actual structures for restrooms, for pavilion and skate park. And so, again, listening in that second meeting to try to balance the use of the various areas. We also got ideas about the plantings that go in. Can that be an edible or forageable planting, so that we start to see that element come in, so that it's not there'll be some formal plantings, but it's not going to be that kind of formal garden. It's going to be a park and with the natural things that we might find. And again, in that second meeting, the history and culture to be, how do we actually showcase that? And we were reminded that there are new ways that can happen. There are technological ways, so that even if someone is not a resident of the area, that there are ways with smartphones to actually have, to be able to sort of have the park itself speak its history. I'm aware of also, again, different times of the year you can have lit displays. They do that in many areas where, again, with a smartphone, you can start to hear a history, and suddenly you will have actually a lighted display that kind of is a little movie of what you're seeing. So we have possibilities to bring different elements in and have different programming that occurs in that park. And we heard these really with your own voice, that we want to make it inviting for all people, all ages. So even in the skate park, even though there are people that we want to also be able to teach that, so that we have children that can learn that activity. Definitely kid-friendly, definitely bicycle-friendly, a place that you can repair your bicycle, a place that you can access the other parts of the community. And still have it in a neighborhood, so we want to make sure that you can enter the park, that it's pedestrian friendly as well. So again, you're not going to see, it's not going to be car oriented. This is really something to walk up to enjoy, to do that. And so part of that was really taking that history of the bridge. The bridge is indeed a bridge, and so the park is kind of this bridge with the community, a place to do these activities, and the concept kind of brings these elements. Next slide. Is that better? So that we can actually have the park with its concepts bring the, really be the bridge and tell that story. And then and we heard in the history that it kind of expressed the opportunities that were available in other areas of the city. And we see that as we look at the concepts that have been developed, and we kind of scribbled out at the beginning, and you'll see those refined this evening, that these are really the opportunities that we're going to be able to develop within the park. So this is a little bit of a refinement of some of the things that you saw last time in the next sketch. I forget I'm not operating. I don't know what's going on here, so I apologize. So one of the things that we had the skate park down, and we saw that it was kind of squeezing into the green area. It still wasn't quite as large as we wanted it to be, so we wanted to make sure we could get that 12,000 square feet. The pavilion area over, again, on the far side there, the sort of pink area, the area in the middle where we have the bridge, and we're still going to have that bridge structure.
With the trains on it?
You'll see. You'll see.
We want the trains.
The trains will be there. But the entrance, but we want to have the history. So there's a formal story. And it'll start with the community on the entrance, that kind of plaza area on the far, where it says Entry Plaza, and you'll start to tell the story of the community. Again, I think as we get into it, to find some of those untold stories that, again, we can engage artists to kind of depict that and to show it in graphic terms and to start to lift those up. Because again, I do come from Austin. When I look at this area and try to find those pieces, you know, just sort of Googling it, I don't see a lot of that history. I'd like to start to lift that up. But then as you go through, as you walk through, it's still a formal history area, but have elements where we can have maybe some artwork that again sort of talks about that within that green space. But then start to tell the story of the trains, the story of the technical side of that, as well as the bridge, as well as the train history, what that meant to this community as well. So with that, I think that Brian can show how in the various areas that we've tried to design and kind of fill out that concept, respecting the fact that it is a small site, but to try to balance the needs and the requirements for
Okay, Donna's hard to follow, so I'm going to do my best. So there's your park. Here's the concept plan. It's got a lot of the same components. And we'll go and we'll have little enlarged plans, and you'll see some 3D renderings of what this stuff may look like in the future. So on the far right, we mentioned the entry plaza as you come in, the community access point, start telling the story and the history. You'll see on the bottom that green area, that's the pavilion bandstand area with seating and some picnic areas, a little bit more of a formal space. Adjacent to that is a big green open space, which creates great viewing area to see out to downtown and to the bridge. It's also a flexible green space that moves in the park, small events. And due north of that is the train and the bridge replica with a playground. Now, the one big change is a little bit to the right of the, to the left of the bridge is a skate park, beginning of the skate park. So there's two skate parks. There's the beginner, which we think would be a great opportunities for smaller experiences, beginner area. And then there's a tunnel that actually goes underneath the walk and connects to the advanced skate park area. Tunnel.
You guys
We'll
are
show
not
you some
happy.
renderings, you'll see. So it gave us the opportunity to increase the footprint of the skate park.
Does somebody have a ruler and somebody who knows you can just go up on the stage? And as he's talking about that, since nobody has a laser pointer, and then the person with the ruler can just indicate the places that he's talking about.
Well, and when you enlarge these, this will help. Let's see.
Okay, so we got a skate park up there.
Yeah, and then to right there is the tunnel, and then and then the advanced park, skate park is right above that, right above.
So where's the bridge?
The replica bridge,
No, the bridge.
the real bridge, right there
That's
on the
the real
right.
bridge.
Yeah. And so we've got the skate parks in there, and then up on the far right corner is the entry plaza for the bridge. And that gives access to the trail. There's a restroom there. There's some bike repair, some bike racks at that location, and some benches. And then we also looked at the opportunity in the future, if we wanted the skate park to get a little bit bigger underneath the bridge.
You guys are
There's
great.
currently a lease, but when the lease expires, there's a great opportunity to add skate park there, and it would have shade. So it's something to look forward to in the future as
Remind me,
well.
how long is the lease?
10 years. And what's left?
I don't know what's left of the lease. I just know it's currently under lease right now. So let's go to the next. So this is a rendering. If you're looking at the park from the north side, you can see in the bottom corner is the entry plaza, and the bandstand area, so you can start seeing the scale of what these elements look like. The timeline walk, which is that big arcing walk that connects all the areas together, where we continue the telling the story of the history. It's kind of hard to see, but on the left side there's some big trees, and in that area is the bridge story plaza area. And then in the far, you can start seeing this shape in the form of the two skate parks. And in between the skate park and the bandstand is that green open space. So with this, it's great to start understanding the scale of what these elements actually look like. So this is a view of the skate park if you're looking or actually a view from the bridge towards the park. And of course the skate park's right there. And I'll just say something on the skate park right now. We've got a lot of the elements in there that you would see, but as this progressed, of course we bring in a skate park designer. We've done some skate parks, but we're always looking for people that this is what they do every day. And so you're gonna see some of the elements, but as it progressed, they'll bring in an expert to help us. So there'll be tweaks, lots of tweaks. But we wanted to show this view because we wanted everybody to kind of understand what these skate park, how big it actually is.
Too big. Too big.
Skate park or become skateboard park? Skateboard park.
It's a little large.
And skateboard and roller skates.
Anything with wheels.
Yeah, you would share the space, right?
So this is, if we were looking at the plan, this is the entry plaza, just a little enlarged rendering of the entry plaza. It shows the entry paving, it shows some seating areas, and then it starts, you'll see there's 6 little brown boxes around those edges. Those would be the signs where we start telling the story of the community. And those stories that Donna mentioned that we don't even know about yet. This would be the great opportunity to start that conversation. And so this is a 3D rendering if you're standing in the plaza looking into the park. You can see the seating areas, you can start seeing the signs and those story opportunities, and then the walk continues to the remainder of the park. The bandstand's off to the right. So off to the right, we talked about the bandstand pavilion area. There's a restroom at that location. There's some benches and some picnic tables we mentioned earlier. This would be a great event space. There's plenty of pavement around it for people to be able to stand in if there's an event in the bandstand. Or however, it's a pretty flexible space the way it's designed. So this is a rendering looking towards that bandstand to give you some scale. We think there's an opportunity for some signage to tell a little history about the bandstand as well. And some formal planting. This is, like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of a formal park area. So the timeline walk we talked about a little bit. That's the opportunity to connect the whole park and to continue that story as you walk along the walk. And then in the center of that walk is a little bridge that would allow the playground to connect to the open space. And then also this area, we pick it up a little bit. As you're walking up there, you're getting a little bit of grade, so you're actually getting a little bit elevated and a little bit better view shed from that location. One of the other tricks in this, in doing that, is we know with the skate park, they're gonna have to dig up dirt, and we try to balance that, not have to haul off dirt. So we use the dirt to start creating these landforms to pick up, to raise the bridges and to create those landforms. And some of the playgrounds you'll see in a second use that elevation change to create slides and other features for the kids. So this is a rendering of the timeline walk, just showing you how we start continuing those signs as you're walking along the trail. And then Donna mentioned there's great opportunity as you're walking along this to also bring in with some of the lighting, showing what it would look like at night in some of the areas. So this is the Bridge Plaza area. We've got a replica of the bridge in there. There's that we fit in there, but then there's also the beginning of and when we start talking about, if you were at the playground area where the little homes are at, you can see.
You're such a diplomat.
Okay.
Been married for a while, so. So this is a rendering of the Bridge Plaza from the west side, if you're looking east, actually. And there's the train area, the bridge replica. To the left is the playground. This right in front of us is the timeline walk with the little walkover bridge. And to the right is the modern playground area, and then the start of the beginner skate park. So the green open space, which is just south of the timeline walk, pretty simple, just a big green space where we've used some topography to create seating areas along the side. And then there's a walk that connects the lower side, it connects the bandstand over to the advanced skate park. Just show you an example of a movie in the park would be a great background. You're sitting there watching the movie and the bridges in the background. So we wanted to make sure we had that green space because this can be used for so many things. And it's a great opportunity. Okay, everybody can go aw at the same time.
Aww.
Yeah, when we saw the picture, everybody in the office did that. So this is just a large rendering of the beginner playground area. A skate park, I'm sorry. Skate park, and we think great to get people to get kids started. It's near the playground, so kids of their age will all kind of play together. This is a rendering showing that playground area. To the right, you'll see there's the restroom, and that restroom is for the Bridge Entry Plaza, but it also is located to provide a restroom for the skate park areas as well. So you've got one on this end, and then you have one on the other end at the band plaza area. This is the advanced, which you would go underneath the timeline walk through the tunnel, which we talked about earlier. And just a great opportunity. We've got a couple of different events, or I don't know what you want to call them, activities for this. But like I said, that'll all be adjusted as the skate park designer works. We're really just trying to get enough space adequate for these parks. So a rendering of that, just to give you a scale, of what it would look like adjacent to the park, to the bridge, and we still think it's a great idea to be able to have those two connected at tunnel and not be interrupting the timeline walk, so people can still go through the space without interruption. Of course, we added some trees and we tried to provide some shade around there. The difficulty we have to be careful and mindful about as we're adding trees is to not block views of the bridge from the distance. So as we were doing the modeling, we were always making sure we're not blocking views of the bridge. This is where we talked about there's a great opportunity. We've seen a couple of these actually a long time ago. We think it's a great, a lot of times you're left with bridges, and what do we do underneath the bridges? We thought it's a great opportunity for future expansion of the skate park underneath the bridge. And there's shade, which is great. It's already there. The final component is that Bridge Entry Plaza, where we've got a restroom. You can see we've got the access point to the bridge is there in the right. There's some benches, we talked about a bike repair station, a drinking fountain, just a great point for people to enter the park if they're coming off the trail. And this is a rendering of what that might look like. The bridge access point is a set of stairs on the left. To the far right is the restroom. And then you can see there's some of the bike amenities in that little plaza area. And this is just a final rendering from if you're looking from the east, west, to just give you an idea of, the size of the skate park, the bandstand, how big the green open space is, and in the event, the Bridge Plaza story and the area, and then the entry plaza. Like Donna mentioned earlier, there was a lot of things that we heard from y'all that we tried to get all to fit in there. I think we accomplished that pretty well. I think we knocked everything off everybody's list, I hope. And I think it actually came together really well. So we appreciate the opportunity to hear y'all's vision for the park. We think it's going to be a great success.
All of your hard work. I think we did try to capture as best we could everybody's input, But we do have a few folks that want to speak tonight, and as we normally do, as these folks come up, I'll offer it to the folks to come, and anybody else that has a thought that, of a revelation that they want to talk about, then we'll do that too. But, you know, remember, we don't have funding for any of these wonderful things. So the hope is that we can continue to work through some budget estimates and some things of how much things will cost, and then look towards the 2022 bond. That's really what we're doing. We talked a little bit about grants and other things, maybe through Tony Hawk and some other things. That's certainly an opportunity. So at this point, I'd like to call up Nettie Hinton. And remind everybody we have snacks and water here on the left.
Be there by next year.
You're doing good.
Get you some skates, baby.
Oh, sure, that's exactly what I need, a skateboard.
No, we're doing roller skates.
No,
You're too
but-
young for the skateboard.
Oh, yeah. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Nettie Hinton. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the person who began the Hay Street Bridge Restoration Group and sat with the Dawsons when they donated the land to be the park. So we had a vision for the park, and I got a couple of questions to ask. Is it still a part of the Howard Peak Hike and Bike Trail?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. There was somebody in conversation last time that was saying, wouldn't the name of the park be something that confused folks about a park that's on Commerce Street? So my next question is, did Lindbergh Park be renamed? The Dawson Center on the park, the building, is named for our military history hero, Mr. Dawson. But the park is Lindbergh Park, unless it's been renamed.
It was renamed to Robert Dawson Park.
Okay. Well, let's hope that people won't be confusing the two Dawson parks, because one thing that the city has is when Mr. Pat DiGiovanni did the piece of paper that the city does to accept the donation of the park, he said, if the land becomes a park, it will be named for the Dawson family. So, you understand, that's a part of what was the donated. I must say that by and large, I'm rather happy with your concept. The Lamar Cherry Street is where you're having the entrance. So that's Lamar and Cherry Street right there for the entrance. My difficulty may be with the size that the skate park eventually becomes, because it's not, we always envisioned that there would be a skate park down on the Lamar Street side when we were designing the use of the park. But it was to facilitate the hike and bike trail. So we wanted the restrooms and the water fountains so that the people who are on the Howard Peak hike and bike would be able to have that. We also wanted the pavilion so that our community would be able to have the quinceañeras and the wedding and the bouncies for the kids. And everything seems to be here. My only fear is that somehow or another the skate park will begin to grow and grow and grow, and it becomes the Dawson Skate Park, and that's not what it's meant to be. Also want to remind you that a few years ago they did a study of where are the best places in San Antonio to view the New Year's Eve fireworks. And this was before we moved them over to Woodlawn for a couple of years because of work being done on Hemisphere Park. So the number one place to see fireworks in San Antonio New Year's Eve is the Tower. The number two place to watch fireworks is Hemisphere Park. The number three place to watch fireworks is the Hay Street Bridge. So we do not want the way that the city of San Antonio has thrown its arms around our neighborhood and our historic site, so that they will feel that there's no room for them anymore. They can't be on the bridge or in the area in the Dawson Park, that they would not be able to view the fireworks. We want them to realize everybody is welcome on the east side, and we want you to come and you're not going to be hurt.
That's right. Thank you. David Sandoval? followed by Monica Savito.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Damian Sandoval. For those that don't know me, I own Alta Vista Skate Park. I had a whole list of things I was going to say, but the renderings, I haven't seen them yet. So from most of what we saw, we were very happy with everything that was up there.
You guys got extra, David.
We did. I really
Nice job.
That was very good. We're always going to push for more if we can, obviously. So that's one of the things that we wanted to put in there as well. But we wanted to make sure that everything was going to be represented and it looked really, really great, the renderings that are there. We had a lot of really positive feedback. I brought my son with me this time around. He gave a thumbs up to the playgrounds as well. So that's good news there. But yes, always and respectfully to everybody, we wanted to make sure that there was going to be enough room because this is a massive opportunity for us to compete on a bigger level, obviously, as I've stated in previous meetings. Springtime in Houston is a massive, 1 acre or possibly even bigger park. House Park in Austin, it's almost another acre over there. Things like that. I understand that the size of the area that we're dealing with is limited, but bringing something of a size that could entice bigger events and things of the skateboarding community, BMX community, roller skate community, anything like that would be a great help. All these sports are really coming into a fuller, bigger swing into our culture and such. And not only just when I was young, it was a counterculture, for skateboarding, but it's becoming more mainstream. Olympics are having skateboarding for the first time ever next year in 2020 in the Summer Olympics, which is amazing. But as these things happen, they're going to have to have, dare I say it, but breeding grounds for the next generation of skaters, the next generation of the youth who's going to take it to that next level. Who knows? They could be in San Antonio right now, who's going to be representing us in the 2028 Olympics or something like that. We just don't know. But with these facilities, and if we do it the right way, we really make sure that we put the emphasis that we need to bring this culture and to bring this to a mainstream here, we would be able to get that there. So I would always say push for more space and things like that. And again, if you disagree, I respect that, but we think it's a great mix. But if you do more,
Hi, I'm Monica Savino. I live here in the neighborhood, and I have, as many of you know, been following this piece of land and the project for a long time. I do want to say that the park staff and the design team that worked on this, I think, did a very, very good job in identifying the high points and yes, and getting them down on paper, because these are placeholders for numbers that need to raise the money, and then you'll go back and design again, right? And really drill down on this. So I think this has done a really good job. I want to touch on two topics though. First of all, my favorites. Even though I'm not crazy about the recycling of the gazebo on our park, I think the fact that there is a built amenity in that corner to hold that weak corner between the other private park property is a really good move. It helps define the bounds of the park. So whether it is a different shape, different config, it's a really good move. I will say that the location of the skate park, where you have the lowest elevation, because you're going to excavate several feet down, immediately adjacent to some of the highest elevations with the bridge, is really stunning and a really good move. Shows how that elevation and the heights have been exploited for a wow factor. If you're into wow factors, that would be the wow factor. The second item, and everything else is just, it works very nicely from a conceptual standpoint. The second topic I want to bring up is something that you guys, where are you guys? Have addressed very well, and you've verbalized it, and you have depicted it in drawings and renderings, and that is the views, right? As we talked about the view for the fireworks, this is the place. And doing it in the design is very nice. Expressing the importance of the views, the priority of those views is very, very important in the design. But how do we make it official? You know, over time, parks change. We're watching Dignowity and Lockwood Park now change completely. So over time, this park will change. A group will come in maybe in 30 years, put a different pavilion over some area that needs shade. Maybe in, God forbid, 40 years, a skate park isn't the thing, and they put something else in, they being the city. Trees grow, pardon? Swimming pool, or something. Trees grow. They take shapes that we don't expect. So how do we codify or make official those view sheds that this team has worked so hard to create? So I'm making a proposal that we ask D2 office, our councilwoman's office, to pursue a view shed ordinance. So that after a few years, 5, 10, 15, 20, 40, 60 years, the intent of all of us to be able to maintain that view to the bridge, from the bridge to the park, from the bridge downtown, is maintained. Well, what would happen is D2 staff would partner with, or I don't know if they partner with anybody, I don't know how this works, but they come up with a CCR for council to consider. They will then give it and assign it to a department in the city to do the analysis, the assessment, community participation feedback for a view shed. And it would be at that point that the city, along with the community, would determine the priority of those view sheds. So we don't know what they are, but I'm asking the city to pursue a CCR for a view shed specifically for the bridge and the park. What do y'all think?
I think it's great.
Okay?
Well, understand that the Third Design and Review Commission has never approved any of the developer's plans for apartments and hotels on the land.
Well,
Historic Design and Review Commission, so I don't think it's gonna be difficult to get.
Well, I'd like to think so because it's such an obvious, spectacular place. A place of history and a place of view, so.
That's the reason
I
why
think-
the Historic Design and Review Commission did not approve Eugene Seymour or who you redid the land to.
Well, they denied it twice for various reasons, so, but in the meantime,
More
you know, what if you
More
have,
time.
what if you have a different commission, different staff, different mayors, different council members, so a CCR or a view shed protection
I'm saying I
would
don't think it's gonna
allow
be difficult.
the
We're
view
saying yes.
shed to
We're saying
exist
yes.
beyond everybody's lifetime, including ours. So it's something to, it's part of the legacy of the park and the legacy of the Dawson Park. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Sullivan. Mark?
Hello, my name is Mark Sullivan. I'm a biomedical engineer and an inventor. I am the creator of Bike-Essay System, which has now received over $35 million in funding. The East Spoke will go through the east side of San Antonio to the outer wheel, which is named now along Salado Creek, and is named after the council member when I first presented this Bike-Essay System. Then after that project, I created the San Antonio Film District on my studios on East Houston Street, and it was the largest film studio in the state of Texas. And I generate intellectual properties. You may have seen one of my inventions. I'm the only person in San Antonio that has been on ABC Shark Tank for one of my patents. And now I have created Texposition. It's an exposition in Texas, so therefore Texposition. It's a World's Fair. So we're going to bring a World's Fair to San Antonio. And it's unlike any other World's Fair ever in history. It is a system for solving problems afflicting humanity, in Texas in particular. So, like I said, it's a system for solving problems, but on the surface, it appears as a festival. So this is novel, it is unique. It's unlike any other World's Fair ever in history. And the duration is perpetual. So this is a World's Fair that stays in San Antonio. And so anyway, it is a 501c3, so we do have our federal EIN. And I think that this location of this Hay Street Bridge Park, you know, in real estate they say you're always searching for the highest and best use for a location. And I think the highest and best use for this site is as a location for a new job creation festival location, as a site for entrepreneurs to have a safe location to create their new products, their new services, a place where tourists and citizens can come and see their new jobs, their new creations, and their new services, and not for the site to just be purely recreational and not a money drain. And so this can become a cultural mecca and create jobs, employment, new products. And so we have an opportunity here to create something really elegant and transformative for our community. So I just wanted to let y'all know that we have this initiative that's occurring right now, Texposition, and I hope that you will consider having a Texposition job creation festival park at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Stephen Locke.
Hello, good evening, everybody. It's great to see people still participating in this process. Thank the designers and Parks and Recreation for continuing to host it. And I think it's come a long way. There's a lot of good features. It looks like everybody is able to get something out of the park, and it's a multi-use for many different populations. There is one thing I'm going to advocate for, which is edible landscaping. I see quite a few trees and shrubs that are going to be put in there. The United Nations has the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and they have stated that if we do not change our consumption and agricultural practices, that we are only going to exacerbate climate change. In addition, there is an expected 3 or 4 billion more people that are going to be on this earth by 2050, and the increased consumption of food is going to be close to 60 to 70%. And so I understand that this park is not going to produce all the food for San Antonio, but it is about a culture shift and understanding that we can grow food anywhere and everywhere. And so I'm not asking for anything extra, but I would like to, by a show of hands, who would be okay with 25 to 50% of those trees being fruit trees? Could you raise your hand? Awesome. Okay, that's just all I wanted to check in on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. This past Monday, I actually presented not this concept, but the previous concept to the Parks and Recreation Board. And one of the things that I actually highlighted was the fact that in this area is a food desert. And it's a complete food desert, and to introduce edible plants and to be able to try, kind of think about that in the early design, I think is very unique, and I really appreciate that with this park. Liz Franklin.
You guys got 2,000 square feet more. And the potential underneath the bridge, you rock. You guys are good. Incredible effort to give us a vision that we can actually think and feel and move towards getting done. Which brings up my number one point. We have zero money, kids. And if you're under 6 years, then you're one of the kids. And I'm talking as my skate park community because I'm not sure how involved you've been in other projects, like the Dinwiddie Hill Lockwood Park. $3.1 million was raised with a very aggressive campaign. They went to bond meetings, they collected, we rotated in and out, reminding everybody how important that was. We're gonna need you again at that, or we will get zero money. All right? And you'll see, it's gotta start early on. I'm gonna guesstimate, and I'm not a money guru, but that's a lot of concrete. I'm gonna say that that's probably gonna be close to 9 million, and may not get the final touches, maybe 10 million. I may not get the final touches. I'm looking at Sandy like she writes the checks. But the reality of the situation is we want a lot of beautiful elements in there. We have to campaign vigorously for all sources of money. You cats gotta reach out to those folks that might be really excited on having that skate park here and the opportunity to expand that in San Antonio. So, not at that location, you get no more. Hilly Murphy, we can talk about that another day. So, a lot of the folks on this side, I know them at other things. I know they know how much work it takes to get that bond money. I'm saying if you took the time to be here 3 times, you're excited about the opportunity that we're not killing each other, and it is beautiful. It gives us everything, right? And fruit trees. And we gotta make Stephen happy. It gives us everything. We have to get across the finish line, so we need that, okay? And then Sandy Jenkins. Without Sandy, I've known Sandy a minute. She's a brainiac. She brings the right people in. Without Sandy Jenkins and her team, I don't think it could have gone as well as it has. And I really appreciate everybody that came out. And you too, Nettie, we all know who you are. And happy holidays, I think you did good work. That really, it's incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Would anybody else like to say a few words? Yes, yes ma'am, come on up. No, can't hear you very well. Sorry about that. Well, hold that close to your mouth.
I think this project has turned out fabulous. I mean, I really think it's one of the better projects to come to the east side in 100 years. I really do. It's great. And the pavilion downtown is beautiful, and that's going to fit right into this park where people can come and have picnics or sit down or just, watch the traffic. The skate park, it's going to be really cool. I mean, it's going to be really nice. The only thing, like Liz said, we have to go to the city council, we have to go to the mayor, we have to go to the general managers and tell them to open up the purse strings, because this park is overdue here. I mean, it's overdue for many, many years. And Sandy, you've done a great job. And this, I don't know your name. What's your name?
Brian.
No, not you.
Oh, come on now, give him credit.
I think you have done a fabulous job, in, I guess, entwining everything that we asked for, and you did it. And you've done a great job too. Okay.
Amy, did you want to say something? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, come.
Yeah, I want to also thank you and your team for the work. I really couldn't see it, so I hope there's ways that I can get a closer look. I mean, just being here makes a difference in being a few feet away. Couldn't really see anything. I want to make sure that, again, the extent that parks are for everyone, and so that intergenerational idea is really important. I'm going to get old, even though I have a lot of white hair, I'm not that old, but I'll be older sooner than later. And so I guess I was surprised that I mean, it's good to hear from an architect like Monica to say, well, the placement of the skate park was a good place, because for me, I would have put it on the other side somehow. Because just access to that bridge and the people who I see on the bridge and who I've seen, you know, have been a lot of mothers with strollers. I've seen elders doing their walking up and down, and so I think they're the ones that are somehow going to get access to that park. And the idea of starting way over there on Cherry and Lamar rather than next to the bridge kind of confused me, but I guess there's a reason for it. The other thing about the skate park, not that I'm against it, is just it's concrete. And so when you're talking about, you know, sustainability and concrete, like, and heat, you know, it's really a concern to me, because right now we've, you know, dealt with these needs in October, November, and December when it's nice and cool and we wear jackets, but most of the time it's hot. And so what do we do with, how is that concrete also closest to the bridge also going to affect what I love about the bridge is those nice winds, breezes, and now will we feel this heat that's coming up that we didn't feel before. So I would be concerned about that. And then the walkways, I'm not sure. I mean, just based on this, they were like white. So are those also concrete, or can we use crushed granite or other alternatives that allow for the pervious cover that is really needed? And then connect, as somebody that does cultural programming, making sure that whatever spaces, including, you know, to screen films or to have concerts or whatever, that we have a lot to plug to that's for free and really accessible to do some good sound and lights. And then finally, that view shed, I want to support Monica, and I hope we don't have to go through the process that we did a year and a half ago. We pretty much have done the view sheds and the photos.
Yeah.
What's her name? Giselle Gonzalez did this beautiful photo from Cherry and Lamar. So we want to make sure that view from Cherry and Lamar that gives that entire view of the city, including the Hemisphere Tower, whatever, that's open from there. But, and again, just visit those plazas like Plaza Guadalupe. It's hot. It is hot all the time, and there used to be a shade structure, and once it came down, nobody used it. So even that entryway, even if it's something you put up and take down, you put up and take down, but something to consider.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Excuse me. Anybody else? Well, thank you. I want to bring up the fact that we have these comment cards, and I'd like to introduce Homer Garcia. He's sitting in the back. He's our interim director for Parks and Recreation. So thank you for being here, Homer. Would you like to say a few words?
What? You promoted Sandy?
I'm sorry?
What? You promoted Sandy? Get out of here right before the holidays, you guys.
Well, it's a good holiday for everybody, I hope. Thank you, everybody. Sorry I wasn't able to be here at the beginning, but we had some ceremonial stuff downtown. Got here as quickly as I could. But this is very exciting. So the path forward from here, we're required to report this out to City Council. So there's an ordinance that is keeping us on task. And so we're working really hard to meet that. So this will go out to Council next week. But that doesn't end really the process. So next up for us is looking at how we can connect the community to that green space. So we're kind of scratching our heads figuring that out. We'll make sure to keep everybody in the loop. And then once we're able to do that, look at some programming maybe in the interim, because as you pointed out, there's not money right now currently to figure out how we're going to build all of this. But there's some other things that we can do in the interim. So we're looking to a collaborative process to figure out how we can do that. And then when we do have that kind of soft opening, if you will, to connect to this newest green space in our park system, we're going to invite everybody. I will be there, so look forward to having many of you there as well. Really want to thank the community for bringing this vision to fruition. I think is a very perfect sign of democracy and what a community, not just democracy here, but really the hard work of everybody. And the community is a benefactor of that. You know, we have the pleasure of working together and leading this effort, but it's really the hard work of everybody in this room and those not in this room. So that's not lost on the Parks Department. Looking forward to continuing the dialogue and the partnership. So again, thank you for being with us through this. Again, doesn't end the dialogue, but this gives us a real good springboard into what we can look forward to in the future and continue to build some momentum and excitement around this exciting park project. So thank you, yes ma'am.
Homer, thank you. Could you just take us through the next steps? I don't think a lot of people are totally familiar with the date, times, and what that actually means to us as far as city council.
Okay, so in the ordinance that kind of got us here through these 3 meetings, there was a couple of charges. By December 31, we needed to complete a public engagement and park development plan. And so this gives us effectively a good concept plan of the types of park uses that we want to see, where some designated use areas are within the park. But then the next step when we get to that point is it still needs to be designed effectively. And looking ahead to the 2022 bond as a option for how we can build this out, that is where we're laying things. I guess that's where we're headed. But as everybody knows, there is a fence around that property, and that's one of the things that now that our focus was meeting the requirements set out by the ordinance, and we're well on our way to do that. When we come back in the new year, looking at removing that fence, some intermittent things we can do to maybe green up the area, if you will. It doesn't look very green right now. We're going to figure that out. Maybe be planting some trees, maybe food forest of sorts, till we get to that long-term development vision. Do maybe programming in the park, maybe some fitness in the park. We can hold a tree adoption. So there's a lot of things that we're kind of cooking on behind the scenes. We've been having those conversations internally. We're not waiting till this is done to start that, because we want to continue the momentum. So that's kind of the immediate next steps and what I think the community can expect to see. And then of course, we're engaging the council office, making sure that for any input that they have and guidance that they can offer and borrow on their platform to getting the community out there to these events. So there certainly is more to come. Nothing is set yet in terms of when we will see that happen, but we're working very diligently to make sure that we don't wait on, Valentine's to get here and then do stuff. So does that answer your question?
Kind of, okay. Yes, it does for me. But the second piece of it, I guess, is for those that may not know, because I'm extremely concerned about this bond. If we don't aggressively go after money, we won't have it in 2022, I can tell you that right now. Not for bond. So, having said that, we need to take a cue from you because you will not do it. We need to be in tandem with Parks and Recs as you're promoting for us as a community and opening up that park space and a few events there and all that stuff. We need to be starting to gather to start our initiative for the bond project, folks. Okay? Don't have me come looking for you.
No, and I just wanted, I heard you say something, and then we can talk to the councilwoman or the council person. And I want to reiterate that this park is in District 2, but it is a citywide park.
Yeah.
And if we can continue to say that, then we can reach out to each of those council members in those moments that they have this extra money, they can allocate, and we're asking each of them for money that we can get now. The sustainability office, you know, how can they help with, you know, getting trees, all these elements, but just to think again, in terms of citywide.
Yes, ma'am. You're exactly right, I agree, and real quick, Nathan, and I'll offer up, while we know that this is about the development plan and maybe what goes into a bond, ahead of that, and again, I've referenced some other things that we hope to be able to do before then, if there are recommendations of activities or programs or whatever you would like to see in the park, feed that to us, because that's outside of this. Those are things that we can work on together in partnership.
Right.
So please don't give.
For that new center city development area has been drawn, and it is Cherry Street, and includes our park. What exactly does that do for us? What difficulties does it provide for us?
Good question, Eddie. I don't know. That's something that we can find out.
Correct, and while we have still our project team on contract, we can look at what options there are or maybe synergies that can be developed. I don't know enough just yet to be able, I think, give you a really good answer, but you know, we've got the right people in the room, so we will bring that to the table as well.
Because it seems to me that District 2 is going to have less influence on what happens on the land, and whatever that center city development is probably going to have more influence. And as we all know, developers have a great deal of influence in San Antonio, particularly in the central downtown development. And that's scary.
Yes, I hear you. I know we've seen where that happens, but you know, for us, we are again back to the park, and that's why it's important for us to. I think the community needs to see something happening on that property that reflects park use, and not wait until a bond and then design and then construction. So that's important to the Parks Department. That's one of the things that we have communicated to council, city manager's offices. This is the Parks Department interim plan, and it's critical to send that message because we want to again reflect it as a park, and that's what it is. It's a park, and we're going to make it that. But you're right, and we'll make sure that that is not lost as we move forward through the bond development process.
Gary?
Sir, I know you and Mr. Urrutia, Nikki Ramos, and others have supported skate parks for some time. I'm wondering whether you consider a 12,000 square foot park, which has been discussed this evening, which is no larger than any existing skate park, and maybe smaller than some in your inventory, is actually a missed opportunity for doing something that the local skating community deserves. Are you comfortable with a 12,000 square foot park?
So right now, the that size of a skate park is comparable to what is at Pearsall Park. Pearsall Park is hundreds of acres. This is not that. And so one of the things that we need to work with the team on is, for that type of amenity, what does the size of that need to be? So yeah. So it's back to there's a very tight space. There's a lot of ask by the community. In prior meetings, what we've heard is there is a desire for that amenity in the park, even by some that may not use it. When we receive feedback, yes, we think there needs to be skate opportunity, maybe not bigger than what's at Pearsall, or maybe less. So
But remember, from the beginning with the Hay Street Bridge project, of which the parkland was a part of the project, there was a skate park. It was not a new thing. You all may have just learned about it recently, but from the very beginning, we envisioned a skate park because we did not want our young men to be put in danger because they were using the freeways, abutments and things to do their skating. And we did not want that to happen, so the skaters were in the very first of our thoughts. But you can't come and try to take over the whole park because we had included right from the very beginning.
We're perfect right now, right?
Yeah.
We are golden.
But now what I
Get over here and get
suggest,
up.
There is a park right up on Broadway where all the development is going on right now at Reddit Jones Maverick. That's a totally unused park except for when people who are feeding the homeless will come with their food trucks to provide people with food. How about the city looking at Maverick Park as something that could be developed as a large skate park, which would fit in with the idea of the kind of development?
Maverick is part of the current bond, and so there's already been a lot of public input meetings, and we're having a dog park there. A dog park was overwhelmingly what everybody wanted to see at Maverick. So Maverick's getting a dog park. I have heard from folks here that this is an appropriate location. I think we talked a lot about mobility early on. We talked a lot about transportation. I think this fits.
No, I'm not saying not have the skate park, because that was a part of our design from the beginning, but as an additional park, that would be a skate park.
Maverick is going to, roughly a quarter of the park will become a dog park, and we wanted to maintain the rest of the park as flat space for the parade, because the parade's not going away, the Fiesta Parade. And so we need to keep the view shed of Broadway integral, but at Jones and Alamo is where the new dog park's gonna go. So that's what's gonna happen.
And the only thing I'd add to that, I think Dunaway's done a good job. I mean, in some of the early meetings, they talked about consider the location of this public green space and in others in the immediate area. And when you look at the portfolio of our park system, then what makes sense where. And so, I heard at one meeting, I thought, maybe in the first one, maybe someone said, I'm sorry? Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
Underutilized.
Right. And I think that's a very good, something that we need to consider and think about as we go through the development of our bond project.
Right.
And it's in the area, it may be able to hold a complementary, maybe larger skate park. So those are things that we've taken notes and things that maybe aren't gonna fit here in the context of the larger just area, what may be viable. And so that was one of my takeaways, because I mean, yes, we want appropriate park use really in all of our parks, and that's hard to achieve sometimes. And you made some good points about Hugh Murphy, I think, at the first meeting. And so that resonated. That resonated in my head. So that's still, we're taking notes.
I know you were,
Yes.
sir, and no complaints. As a matter of fact, you guys are the best kept secret in the city departments.
This doesn't have anything to do with this, but when you are designing dog parks, let's just give you one suggestion. The park down, the huge park down at the Baptist Hospital, doggy park down there, it's just a huge space.
Yes.
And that park needs to be divided between big dogs and little dogs.
Yes.
When I take my little dog down there, I'm almost scared to take her in there because I don't know how friendly those big dogs are.
I agree. Tony, my assistant manager, is my Madison Dog Park person. He visits it multiple times a day. And so he's made sure that one way or another, we're gonna figure out how to divide that dog park.
And if you're gonna do Maverick needs to be divided the same way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maverick will be, because we made sure that we got it right at Maverick, so. One of the other things that the city is doing is we're looking at a digital divide. So where do folks live that may not have access to the internet? So if you will, on your way out, visit Thomas, who's in a white shirt over there, and he's got a survey that you may win a $25 HEB gift card if you take that survey. So, again, we're taking input, continue to take input. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this doesn't have anything to do with like budgeting or any of that, but I don't know where else I would have an opportunity to address this, like this many skaters in like a formal way, but I think it's up to us in this skate park to really like foster an environment where we're not like picking fights, harassing women, children. I think it's really important, and I think like all of us showing up here shows that we're all mature enough that like we need to set the example and make sure that everyone feels safe at the skate park, because this is a community skate park and we're not going to be pushing kids out of the way. We're not gonna be screaming, you know, obscenity, sorry, I get emotional. But, yeah, I just think that this is a good opportunity for us to like set the standard that skating is for everyone, and it needs to be inclusive.
All right, with that, everyone have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you